Pursuant to Standing Order 3, I invite Mr. Plamondon, member for Bécancour-Nicolette-Sorel-Alnobac, to take the chair as member presiding over the election of the Speaker. Conformément à l'article 3 du règlement, j'invite Monsieur...
Pursuant to Standing Order 3, I invite Mr. Plamondon, member for Bécancour-Nicolette-Sorel-Alnobac, to take the chair as the member presiding over the election of the Speaker.
Et à tous, félicitations à vous tous qui avez...
I would like to congratulate all of you on your election. It's very important. We are all elected here because we believe in democracy and we support it. Congratulations again to all of you. I see that there are many new members. Maybe one of you will one day beat my 41-year standing record. And for all younger or newer MPs, I'd like to repeat a piece of advice that I've already given here in the House. It is important to manage your emotions, especially frustration. Some asked me why I'm not a spokesperson, why I was never a minister. Well, sometimes we experience frustration, but we get over it over time. A second piece of advice for new members: only speak when you have something intelligent to say.
Vous savez.
Let me explain. I'm saying this in French because if I were to say it in English, I would also need translation, as I do when I speak French. In this place, we have the best journalists in Canada. When they interview us, they don't interview us for no reason. You need to be very well prepared because if you say one wrong word, it can change the course of your career sometimes. I'd like to share an anecdote that I've already shared with previous MPs. I was first elected in 1984. When I was a brand new MP, I made 3 statements which went against what my party believed in. At our first caucus meeting, a senator who seemed very old to me, now I think back on it and he doesn't seem so old, he said to me, "Come and see me after the caucus meeting." I went to see him in his office. We had a very short meeting. He said, "Look at the wall." And on the wall, he said, "Do you see what I have on my wall here? This is a fish, a dead fish, and if he had just shut his mouth, he would still be alive."
Alors, il a ajouté en politique.
He said, "Well, in politics, it's the same."
Un peu en anglais.
Now I'm going to speak English.
I have received by email last night the list of candidates for the speakership. The list of numbers who have withdrawn and the list of numbers who have ineligible as candidate. This list are also available at the table and are on our commons if members will to consult them before the vote. Avant de procéder,
Before we begin, I want to invite any member whose name is on the list of candidates but who does not want to stand for election to rise and inform the chair accordingly.
député de Perth Wellington.
West Wellington.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Doyen de la Chambre.
Thank you very much, Dean of the House of Commons. It is great to see you preside over this for the 7th time. I wish to withdraw my name.
For Speaker. Thank you.
Regardez là.
Député d'Acadie Annapolis.
Député d'Acadie.
The Honourable Member for Acadie.
A good speaker knows when to keep their speeches short. Can you withdraw my name from the ballot, please?
Okay. À la suite de ces déclarations, la liste des candidats est reçue.
We will revise the list of candidates.
6 candidats, 4. Il y aura donc 6 candidats.
There will be a total of 6 candidates.
Conformément pursuant to Standing Order 3.1, the House must proceed to the speech from each candidate for the speakership. Notwithstanding any standing order or any usual procedure and practice adopted by the House, et pour aider les nouveaux députés identifiés.
And to help the new members to identify the candidates for the office of Speaker, I will recognize, in alphabetical order, each candidate by name and by electoral district.
When the last candidate to address the House completes his or her speech, I will leave the chair for 30 minutes, after which numbers will proceed to the election of the Speaker. Each number have 5 minutes for the speech. I invite now to call up Mr. Sean Casey, honorable member of Charlottetown, to address the House for not more than 5 minutes.
Monsieur le Président, je tiens tout d'abord à souligner.
Mr. Speaker, I would first like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin people who have lived here for millennia. We acknowledge the lasting presence of Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis on this territory.
Parliament and the office of the Speaker have declined at an accelerating pace over the last decade. From 2003 to 2017, not a single member of Parliament was asked to withdraw for disregarding the authority of the Speaker. Compare that to the last 8 years, where 9 members have been kicked out of the chamber for violating the rules of debate, refusing to withdraw in parliamentary language, failing to apologize for their conduct, and defying the Speaker. I have witnessed almost all of these incidents, and frankly, there should have been more expulsions. What's worse is that this lack of respect for Parliament has actually been used as ammunition to raise funds. Sadly, this demonstrates the current state of decorum. It is not okay. That, Mr. Speaker, is why I stand before you to offer my candidacy for the office of Speaker. And I do so with some degree of optimism. Seuls les députés peuvent restaurer le respect.
Only members of Parliament can restore and rebuild trust in our institutions. About 1/3 of members here are new to the House. I don't think any of them campaigned on a promise to shout the most in the House or promising to insult other members of Parliament, and especially not to insult the Speaker, him or herself. They were elected because they promised to represent their constituents here with dignity and hard work, and to focus on constituents rather than on their next Instagram video. We members of Parliament have a significant role to play in restoring trust in this House and in the Speakership.
Members in wanting a reset. After thousands of interactions with constituents during the course of the campaign, I can't imagine that anyone held up the current state of civility in Parliament with pride. We owe Canadians a genuine effort to raise the bar in how we treat each other. A new session with so many new faces offers a fresh start and a real chance to lead by example. If you agree that the conditions and the timing are right to make a meaningful change, then I offer my experience and approach to lead that reset. Avant d'entrer en politique, j'étais avocat.
Before I got into politics, I was a lawyer and a business person. I had to respect the administration of justice and the law. I had to respect the opposing bench. I also had to vigorously defend my client. Those were part and parcel of my duties as a lawyer. I had to follow rules of procedure, which was essential to be efficient. That allowed me to build values of equity, structure, and impartiality, which are qualities essential to being Speaker. I was elected to Parliament for the first time in 2011. I was one of just a few new members in the party. I was re-elected in 2015 and appointed parliamentary secretary to 3 different ministers. More recently, I presided over a standing committee. At age 48, I committed to becoming bilingual and achieved a C level. I'm very proud of that accomplishment.
I've served with 4 different speakers and have learned what works and what doesn't. First, it is vitally important for the Speaker to set the tone early and rigorously. A collegial approach, cajoling repeat offenders, has proven ineffective. The current state of debate requires the consistent application of progressive discipline. I offer the experience, the tone, and the temperament to deliver exactly that. I would be honoured with your support to lead a collective effort to rebuild respect in Parliament. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now ask Mr. Greg Fergus, the Honourable Member for Hull Aylmer, to address the House for not more than 5 minutes.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I'd like to recognise that we are on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Since time immemorial, Indigenous peoples have met here to exchange, to share and to collaborate. That is what Canadians expect from us here in the House of Commons. Today, a similar spirit assembles us. Some of us for the first time, some since 1984. I was elected Speaker in the second half of a minority parliament. When I was elected, I promised to be a collaborative and well-thought Speaker, a Speaker that would serve all parliamentarians.
Tempers ran high and cooperation was low. It was in that context that I learned the ropes of the job, often getting it right, and when I didn't, putting in place measures to continually improve. To be frank, it would have been a difficult time for anyone in that role. We find ourselves in a new minority parliament. A new parliament is a new beginning, but we don't have to start at the beginning. Although I continue to stand by my values for mutual respect between members, the business of Parliament must get done. With transparency, with integrity, with accountability, and without gamesmanship. This is what Canadians expect from us. At my first question period, I asked you to treat me like a new car. Try not to get a dent on me on the first day. Well, I got one day. There are now a couple of dents, but I'm still running. I'm now a reliable car with experience. And that's how I learned what all speakers eventually discover. You don't become speaker by just putting on the robes. You learn the role through experience. Les habits ne fait pas le président.
It's not just the gown that makes you speaker. You become a speaker with experience. That experience I've already obtained, and now I want to implement it for this 45th legislature. Presiding over debates in this House is the most visible part of the role. However, the Speaker also has a very important diplomatic role to play.
Canada needs friendships around the world. From the early days of my speakership, I insisted that Canada show our solidarity with Ukraine, and I'm proud to have organized an all-party parliamentary mission to Ukraine. During the long train ride into Ukraine under the cover of darkness, with the protection of the Canadian Armed Forces, seated with my colleagues from the Conservatives, the Bloc, the NDP, and the Liberals, working together, we developed lasting friendships with Ukrainians and strengthened their network of support in their time of need. This is another example of Parliament at its best. Plus que jamais.
More than ever, Canada needs strong friendships everywhere. Throughout the world, I have forged strong ties of friendship to put forward our Parliament's interests. This experience will serve for the success of the Speakers G7 meeting that will happen later this summer. Another role of the Speaker happens here. As the CEO of about 2,500 members of staff, I support the services that support your rights and privileges as parliamentarians.
Money was well spent. We took steps never taken before. We started a new audit process. We implemented robust new security measures in and around Parliament Hill, in your constituencies, at your offices, and at your home. And we did this so that you and your family can feel safe while you do your job. C'est riche de cette expérience.
It's with this wealth of experience that I ask for your support for my re-election. I gained the experience necessary to implement changes that are essential starting today.
Dense, but it also has character. The engine is strong, and I know the road. Allons-y, let's go together. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech.
I will now call upon Mr. Robert. Pardon, on est rendu où, c'est vrai? Oh, excusez-moi.
I will now call upon Mrs. Alexandra Mendès, the Honourable Member for Brossard-Saint-Lambert, to address the House for not more than 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chers collègues, dear colleagues, I rise today to let my name stand to be your Speaker. I will try to be brief and to the point. Unlike other colleagues, I did not spend the last few days on emails or phone calls asking for your support. Mostly because, as you may know, some of you may know anyways, I was diagnosed with cancer at the end of January, and I have been undergoing intense treatment ever since. Thanks to a phenomenal team and the many volunteers who raised their hand to help me through the campaign, I find myself representing the citizens of Brossard-Saint-Lambert once more, and I couldn't be more grateful. After a successful re-election, I wanted to ensure my health situation would allow me to stand for this role. I spent many hours reflecting on my next steps, both from a personal and professional level. I do wish to take this moment to thank many of you in this chamber who sent me messages of encouragement in the past weeks and months. From text messages to phone calls and emails, your heartfelt words meant a great deal to me during these challenging times. L'avis sans équivoque.
The unequivocal advice from my oncologist has led me to believe that I can safely consider serving you as Speaker, rather. I have the experience of 5 years as Assistant Vice Speaker, have taught me indeed what it takes to ensure an environment of respectful debate of ideas and adherence to our standing orders as agreed upon over the course of legislatures. I'm not here in opposition to anyone. I'm here because I have some convictions that I believe will provide another way of approaching the responsibilities we all have as parliamentarians.
I have never been a parliamentary secretary, nor a minister, nor held any government role. I have been a privileged backbencher, but a backbencher nonetheless. Nous sommes 334 personnes sur...
We are 343 out of 40 million Canadians that were chosen to legislate their present and more than ever, their future.
Responsibilities include and depend on the constant quest for fruitfulness and the common good. I also believe that one of our responsibilities is to find joy in the work we do. Loving what we do, this place where we do it, and the people that help us do it are for me fundamental aspects of a successful parliamentary life. It can't and it shouldn't be all about insults and accusations, about gotcha moments and questionable statements. This is the place where Canada's most important conversations should be held, where we seriously debate and humorously disagree.
The ability to find the right word is an art that I admire, and that so many of you, dear colleagues, use with great brio. Combined with the respect for others and the most basic standards of politeness, this oratory art is exactly what our debates should always be like.
Holding the government to account is the essential element of parliamentary democracy. No government is immune from the necessary scrutiny of its proposed legislation and its management of the public accounts. But Canadians have told us time and time again that they expect us to do this with far more civility than they see in this place most days. Should I be given the honour of being elected to the chair, I would strive with all my might to bring dignity to our debates. I believe in the rules and regulations that govern the House of Commons. I believe in the office of the Speaker that oversees the functioning and administration of this place. I trust the clerk and the table officers who guide us and provide us with their knowledge and their independent analysis.
Dignity is a principle very close to my heart. No one in this House, parliamentarian or not, should have their humanity violated. The most elementary thanks to the pages who bring us a glass of water or a lectern, respectful awareness of the monumental work done by the interpreters, recognition of the delicacy of the task that falls upon the officers of the table, and acceptance that despite our differences, we are all here with a single goal, to make some good laws.
Our predecessors fought hard for our rights as parliamentarians. It is our duty to uphold them with conviction and honour.
Finally, dear colleagues, I offer you the argument of the century, or the 21st century. Is it not time for a woman to be elected Speaker of the Canadian House of Commons? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I will now call upon Mr. Robert Oliphant to the honourable member from Down Valley West.
Merci.
Thank you, Dean, for having presided over us with your classic sense of humour. I think that you have a great career ahead of you. I would like to commend, first of all, everyone for their re-election, or their election.
I was first elected and walked into the chamber, then in centre block. It was in 2008. I'm a minister of the United Church of Canada, so neo-Gothic buildings and stained glass and ceremony were hardly new. But I was still overwhelmed to be in the Parliament of Canada, with honourable colleagues from all parties doing our best to live up to the lofty expectations of those who sent us here. I still feel that sense of awe, but after 17 years, it has dimmed and become more difficult and sometimes even painful to be in here. Dignity has diminished and decorum has declined. Respect for one another and for this institution are woefully lacking. Canadians have noticed. This was confirmed to me at the many doors I knocked on recently, and I suspect that everyone in this room has had that experience the same way. Canadians are watching. Cela dit, sachant...
That being said, knowing that the task before us is colossal, with great humility and some concern, I've decided to be a candidate to become your speaker.
Was the Honourable Peter Milliken. I did not know he would be in the gallery today, who for me embodied what it... who for me embodied what it means to be a parliamentarian. I was in opposition, and in a moment of passion, I once went a little too far with a comment. Speaker Milliken rose. He dropped his head, he raised his eyebrow, and he asked me to withdraw the comment. I'm a politician. I love debate. I love spice in this House. But I felt at that moment I had disappointed the Speaker. I had disappointed him. And I withdrew the remark. I did not want to let down my colleagues or this House or the people who had sent me here to represent them. The raising of an eyebrow. I say this because the Speaker's authority, the ability to provide leadership, to maintain order, to protect members' rights and privileges, to have credibility inside and outside this House, comes from members having trust and respect in not only the office of the Speaker, but in the Speaker herself or himself. Il faut plus qu'une apparence d'impartialité.
We need to go beyond an appearance of impartiality. We have to be impartial. We have to listen to both sides of the House. We have to have taken part in a number of roles. Irrespective of our party or our position, finally, this authority is not simply given to us because we understand parliamentary privilege, but because we protect it every single day.
Of course, rooted in competence, credentials, and character, but it's more than that. It comes from being calm in the midst of chaos, dispassionate in the heat of debate. It comes from humility, accountability, empathy. It comes from having a sense of humor that cuts through pretense and posturing and calms the moment.
It's not given us just because we respect both official languages, but because we live in both languages every day. My partner, over the last few years, my partner is a proud Quebecer who grew up in Rimouski. Not only is he my French professor, but he also helps me to better understand the Francophone reality in Canada, which is an asset to us all.
I hope to preside over Parliament with dignity, and I will say zero tolerance for behaviour that diminishes any one of us, with consistently applied consequences for unparliamentary behaviour, no matter where it comes from. As a former accountant, I hope to excel as a chief administrator of this place. And as former parliamentary secretary in foreign affairs, I hope to represent Parliament faithfully and carefully around the world and in Canada. I believe I can do all three of these key roles. In my role as an other kind of minister, I led congregations across Canada, leading people in good times and bad, breaking down barriers that divided people, and attempting to lead them in common purpose. People have often asked, what's the difference between being an MP and clergy? I pray more now. But I don't want to pray. I want to do something about it. I would like to be your speaker. I'd like to be the custodian of the chair that belongs to you. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much for your support. Given that you referred to my career, when I was elected in 1984, there were no cell phones, there was no internet, and there was no fax. It was paradise. It was great. I will now call upon Mrs. Sherry Romanado, the Honourable Member for Longueuil-Charles-le-Moine, to address the House for not more than 5 minutes. Mr. Speaker, it's with humility and a lot of respect that I stand today as candidate to the Speakership of the House of Commons. To members who are back, welcome back. It's great to see so many familiar faces. To new MPs, welcome. Every single one of us have won the trust and gained the trust of our constituents so that we can respect their views. Irrespective of our region, our party, or our point of view, we are united in our duty of serving democracy with integrity. We must also defend its institutions. It's no easy feat to be Speaker of this House where these diverse voices assemble, sometimes as a cacophony, but always with passion. The Speaker has a solemn responsibility, that is to preserve the dignity of Parliament, to guarantee the equity of debate, and, what might be the most difficult, make sure that 343 very intelligent people with very different opinions respect more or less the calendar of Parliament. The Speaker is not partisan. It is fundamentally based on principles, with equity and a staunch defence of everyone's privilege. If I get the trust of this House, I will treat everyone with respect and impartiality, knowing that democracy does not develop when we all agree, but when we all hear and listen to one another.
Parliamentary experience as Parliamentary Secretary, Deputy Leader of the Government, Chair of the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Technology, and probably the only member who actually asked to sit on the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. As a fellow elected representative, I understand the demands of public service and the pressures we all face. But I also believe that impassioned debate and decorum are not mutually exclusive. The Speaker fulfills several key responsibilities: presiding over debates and ensuring the enforcement of rules and the preservation of order and decorum, acting as Chief Administrative Officer of the House, and representing the House in its external relations. Of these, the one I've heard the most about in my conversations over the past weeks is the preservation of decorum. On this, let me be very clear. I will be fair, firm, and consistent. The standing orders in the House of Commons procedure and practice offer a solid framework to guide our work. And with nearly a third of members joining the House for the first time, it is especially important that the Speaker provide guidance, clarity, and support. Expectations must be clearly communicated, and when rules are not followed, corrective action must be taken. In this regard, I've demonstrated my ability to lead impartially and keep order as the chair of the Indu Committee. My two sons will attest to my near obsession with rules and order. In fact, they both voluntarily enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces at age 16, believing that even the military was bound to have fewer rules than at home. But above and beyond rules, the tone and culture of this place matter. In these times of uncertainty, when trust in institutions is being tested, we must renew our commitment to civility, transparency, and respectful dialogue. Canadians are watching us, especially young Canadians. Our children and grandchildren are paying attention to how we speak to one another, how we handle disagreement, and how we uphold the principles of democracy. Let us give them something to be proud of.
I believe in a modern, accessible parliament as well, one that adopts new technologies, reflects Canadians' realities, and includes both tradition and innovation. Parliament needs to change to adapt to the present moment, while also maintaining its foundations that have been serving us for generations.
I do not see the role of Speaker as a one-way street. It must be one that encourages a constant flow of ideas, viewpoints, and suggestions on how we can make this institution stronger, and how we can make it work better for all members, and ultimately for the people we are all here to serve. This is, after all, their house. Ma vision est celle d'un Parlement qui reflète le
I have a vision of a parliament that reflects the best values that we have as Canadians, the best of what we are as Canadians and of what we defend as parliamentarians. If I have the honor of being elected as Speaker, I will fully commit to this mission with equity, consistency, and fairness. Thank you very much.
I will now call upon Mr. Francis Scarpaleggia, the Honourable Member of Lac-Saint-Louis.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Moi également, j'aimerais.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to mention that today we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. A little over 20 years ago, I was seated in this house for the first time. In the farthest back row.
20 years ago. It was a proud moment, which is why I would like to offer a special congratulations to all newly elected members who are taking their seats for the first time today. Whether we are in the first rows or the last row, like the old Montreal Forum, there are no bad seats in this arena. Nous sommes tous égaux ici. Nous avons tous partagé le même parcours.
We are all equal here. We have all done the same thing.
Have all traveled the same road and faced challenges and come up against obstacles on the way to earning the honor and privilege of being the voices of our constituents in this Parliament. Canada's greatest asset is its democracy, and democracy lives and breathes here in this chamber. La démocratie ne s'arrête pas au jour du scrutin.
Democracy doesn't just stop on the day of the vote. Democracy is constantly evolving and it lives in this chamber. And ultimately, it is the quality of our democracy that represents the strength of our country, the strength of our nations, communities, provinces, and regions that together form our Canadian society.
It is rightly said that there can be no true freedom without order. Likewise, we can't have a truly meaningful exchange of ideas without an orderly, rules-based House of Commons. Now, there's nothing wrong with a clean, even board-rattling, polemical body check in the corners. I've been at the receiving end of a few. Robust debate is fundamental to a robust democracy, and a robust democracy is what makes for a resilient nation. The problem is when sticks go high. Canadians want to see sticks. Canadians want to see, though the elbows are for others, not for us. Canadians want to see sticks on the ice, and it's the responsibility of the Speaker to make this so. Colleagues, I'm an optimist. I believe it possible to skillfully and convincingly dissect and refute an argument without recourse to personal invective or intimidation. I have seen all colleagues from all parties achieve this standard. Over 20 years of parliamentary experience has prepared me for the challenge of finding the right balance between respect and order on the one hand, and vigorous debate that clarifies the issues on the other. J'ai fait le tour, collègues. En 20 ans.
Colleagues, I've had a great deal of experience in different roles. Over the last 20 years, I've been on both sides of the House, 10 years in opposition, including at a time when the future of my party seemed uncertain, and 10 years in total on the government side. I know both sides of the coin, and I'm very aware of the needs of colleagues on both sides of the House. We need to remember that the Speaker is also an administrator, leading operations and services on the Hill. After my 20 years of experience, I have a deep knowledge of all aspects of the administrative apparatus of the Hill and of its regulations.
Colleagues, we have a duty to Canadians and to ourselves, a duty to cultivate our parliamentary democracy in an increasingly turbulent world where many argue that democracy is just too inefficient and time-consuming. Canada has always been about values. It was the will to affirm a distinct set of values on the upper half of the North American continent that led to the creation, against all odds, of this confederation of founding peoples and nations and diverse and proud regions. Our neighbor to the south may be modern-day Rome in size and power. We are Athens in culture, values, and democracy. That is how we must see ourselves. That is who we must be. Thank you, Paul.
Before I suspend the sitting for 30 minutes, permettez-moi de dire.
I would just like to say to the entire team of volunteers that enabled me to be elected for the 13th time, I'd like to thank them for this prestigious chair. And I'd like to also thank my entire family and this speaker's throne that I love very much. Well, I'll have to lend it to the king tomorrow. What a thing to think about. But he will, of course, be welcome. It will be on the Senate throne, in fact. Now, I will just say that the bells will ring for only 5 minutes. Now, the sitting is suspended to the call of the chair.